Welcome back to News Sources. We're glad you're watching. Now, Nairobi Women Rep Rachel Shebesh is not new to controversy. First, we understand she'll not be defending her seat in this year's election, something to do with regional balancing in the Jubilee circles. But Nairobi Senator Mike Sonko has narrowed his fight for governorship in bringing down Maziwa Nairobi, or Raptor, into one. Take a listen.
Kuna mama mmoja pale Nairobi alichaguliwa kama women rep. Huyo mama amekuja na Kiswahili. Baada ya kuangwa na Peter Kenneth, akapigia Dennis Waweru, akamwambia wachia Peter Kenneth kiti. Akapigia Margaret Wanjiru, akamwambia wachia Peter Kenneth kiti ya Nairobi. Akanipigia mimi, akasema tupige bei wananchi wa Nairobi. Sisi tukasema hatuwezi piga bei wananchi. Wewe mzungu na pesa yako rudi kule Hague.
Smart, raw politics, but I mean, this woman who was Kidero, you slapped me some time back. What's up with her?
Yes, and there was, a follow-up conversation where Senator Mike Sonko, went into further details about, disparaging the character and the person that is Rachel Shebesh. She finds herself central to this politics of Nairobi, I think, this time, because she wants to be the fixer. In effect, she wants to be the person who would get the candidates, and if the candidate has to be endorsed by the president, she wants to be that person, and the person who's going to run the campaign and essentially get her nomination for the Senate, since it appears that's going to be difficult for her to be the ballot. So she's running the show from, the back.
I mean, Rosalind, you put me in my corner by saying that Commander and Shebesh have no influence over Peter Kenneth, but where do you place her now that she's not running, but she wants to play power politics?
I think it was a good move for her not to contest, because I think in this current parliament, Shebesh didn't do her best. What we can remember about her is more of controversy and drama that has not portrayed her, even as a woman, to be a role model for women. So I think by deciding to be a power broker and being the fixer, maybe that is the best position for her currently.
Uhome, good politics for Jubilee or bad for their supporters?
Let me say, good for the time being. But I'm so disappointed that in the whole of this picture, when Sonko stands up as a candidate for governorship and he wants votes, all he can tell us is what Shebesh said, or what Peter Kenneth, the Mzungu from wherever. Now, at what point will this man start telling us that if I become a governor, these are the issues I'll sort out? Those are the things that Kenyans want to hear. And it really doesn't matter. If you ask me, any of these guys, whether even Kidero himself, if you are to become the governor again, my interests are only to see what will you do for this city. This city has gone down the drains. Okay? How will you revive it? What will you do? So that by the time now these guys are done with what Shebesh said, and I just told you earlier on that Sonko says that Shebesh has been sent by the president. I wouldn't doubt that. It's possible for the president to send this lady and tell her, go and tell those guys to step back.
Ramadan Rajab, in political circles, there's talk in town that Sonko will be running for governor. Running mate will be Margaret Wanjiru Sakaja, and then senator will be Paul Kobia. I mean, what a combination.
I think it will be a city of jokes. A big joke, because even if you see the agenda is standing on, he's speaking about the guy saying so and so and so. That's what Sonko knows, and that's the ideas he knows, he can articulate. When he was at Senate, when he goes to Senate, he can't move even a single motion. Exactly. But when he's out on the podium, he can insult wherever he wants. But for the public, he excites. He can pull crowds. But now translating that to people of Nairobi looking for someone who can provide good water, can plan for the city, I think Sonko does not stand a chance. But for Maziwa Nairobi, let her make hay. I doubt even if she can be a power broker, because politically, I don't think she can fix anything for anyone.
Smart, is this good politics for the incumbent, Evans Kidero? This noise coming from Jubilee?
Well, in yesterday, I think when he was launching this mass voter registration at KICC, he mentioned something to go in the lines of, the other side, they have not even decided who they want, to come, the play. And he's waiting and ready for people who are in this in this election from Jubilee side. Once one of these people come up, of course, whether it's Peter Kenneth or it's going to be Sonko, there's going to be someone is going to be muddied around, and that's what he's expecting and waiting. So it's good politics for Kidero any day, anytime.
No, I think he should come out from his comfort zone, because this time it will not be a walk in the park as they had it. Yes,
who has stood up from,
2013. He needs to start working now, roll his sleeves and start campaigning
Kidero.
now. Yes.
What is he likely to tell people in Nairobi as
Now Kidero
But
had
he has done
plans.
nothing. That's
Remember,
something
when he
that he's going to
assumed
do
office, he gave Nairobians a pillar of 7 plans that he was supposed to do. One of them was to decongest the city. He has not done any.
Ladies and
so
gentlemen,
again,
we're going to discuss Kidero in a specific news sources. But first, let's move on. For the hunt for over 6 million new voters is on, and we have all the lineup to the 30 days to capture and register the young Twitter and Snapchatting folks and enroll them into the voter register. The political disconnect is there for all to see, but opposition chief Raila Odinga seems to be off the block faster and hardworking. Raila has announced a whole month of tours in his traditional strongholds and the regions which will help in mass voter registration drive. Let's listen in.
You've seen today a very long convoy of trucks standing around, people asking, what is the problem? What is it? The people tend to read mischief whenever they see heavy deployment of security forces. So we want those to remain in the camps, and that they only come when they are needed.
All right, that was at KICC yesterday. And the question, of course, all wrapped into one. Raila Odinga was at KICC launching the mass voter registration for the Nairobi region. President Uhuru Kenyatta was miles away at Uhuru Park launching the 500-plus APCs. Dennis.
The president has a duty, of course, to do what he has to do. He's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and Raila Odinga has to do what he has to do, look for votes. But I expect to see Raila Odinga in Meru, in Nyeri, asking people to come out and vote.
That strategy did not work, Dennis, the last time. He spent 90% of his time in Meru and did not work the last time. And this time they're saying we're going to adapt defensive. It's football. The last time we played offense, it did not work. We were beat by a counter-attack. So this time we're just going to be defensive and then wait for a counter-attack. So that did not work the last time. It's a terrible strategy.
I think he needs to concentrate on his stronghold. Those guys who've never come out to vote or register as voters. Because if you look at the numbers or even the census results, his stronghold has more population or numbers. Then waste time to a place where you will never get even a single vote. What
Raila goes votes in Nyeri.
It's natural. How many votes were there?
Help us in this discussion. Gentlemen, hang on.
You rather go for 100,000 votes than looking for one or 10 votes elsewhere.
You can't tell Raila not to go to the weak zones, okay? Because you know very well that as a presidential candidate, if he becomes, he is required to garner votes in more than half of the counties, okay?
He did that in the last time as well.
Yes, and this is another election. I keep saying these are different elections. There are people who will be shifting positions, so he may just win from that. But it's very important for Raila to go for numbers, okay? To ask people to register, because they have lost on the manual electronic contest. Now it's a question of numbers, and you have that days, as he says, you get the numbers, you are likely to get the seat. You miss out at this point in time, then forget the seat. And for Raila, this is the very last. In fact, I don't know whether if he makes it now, if he doesn't, I don't think he has any other chance, and he knows that it's now or never.
Roslyn, pictures coming in from Kisumu yesterday. I mean, you cannot go on a border, you cannot go into a taxi if you're not registered as a voter. Is this a good strategy for the opposition to try and get the numbers, as Wome is saying?
I think it's a good strategy, and even if you look at the way people are turning out and even urging each other, you even see on social media platform everywhere people are asking people to vote, just shows you how serious people are taking the coming elections. So as much as people are saying that by the end of the voter registration it will determine the numbers, we are forgetting one thing. We have not done the auditing of the voter register. Remember the last time we had over 2 million voters that were there, the dead voters. So let us not rush. Let us finish the voter exercise. Let us do the audit. people do the verification. Then now we start putting the numbers and the regions, and now we say that opposition stronghold have either increased their numbers or the government side have increased their numbers. But for now, I think everybody should, it's our constitutional duty to just register for these elections.
Yeah, let me add, it's fair enough. People may register. You may tell them you will not be served meals if you are not registered voter. How will you do it now when it comes to voting? And how will you do it when it comes to voting for you? You see, most of the people who will be saying that we will not serve you or will not do this are people who want you to register for purposes of you voting for them.
We must.
So how will you balance that? How will you make them come to the polling stations and even vote for you?
The worst thing I've seen is this issue of coercing people to come and register as voters. You should make people appreciate that this is my constitutional right, not to coerce them, tell them you'll not do this, you'll not do that, or use the ethnic games and try to balkanize the country. It's a very wrong thing.
Let's move on, gentlemen.
Let people know it and appreciate deep down themselves that I must register.
I support
There's something, Ramadan, you must
Not to
appreciate
coerce
about the
people.
president in case you're worried about your security worry no more. As the president has this week launched about 500 vehicles for police. The vehicles ranging from trucks to armored personnel carriers are the second batch of what the president calls his plan and policy of restoring the police force. But well, there are those who believe this has everything to do with the elections this year. Listen.
My administration procured 30 armored personnel carriers, which has improved police capability and response. We are making these investments in a deliberate move to fulfill the promise by my administration to deliver a secure and tranquil environment that will give Kenyans confidence to go about their business without fear of their security.
Smart, is this all got to do with security or it has everything to do with the elections?
My concern was just why it was had to be launched that day. It was just terrible optics. That's my personal view. Of course, the president has to be the president, the timetable has to be the timetable, and you have to do things regardless of, politics and everything else. But on the day that Kenyans are talking about, their civil rights, you want to encourage Kenyans to go out and register as voters and that sort of thing. It was just bad to, have a competing sort of headline where we're also having APCs and, armored vehicles and that sort of thing on the same day. But just my view.
Rosalind, intimidation or just the president doing his job?
I think it was the wrong time to launch the security vehicles, because remember, this is the time that the voter registration just kicked off. We are having Kenyans dying of hunger, and we're talking about drought in the country. And then all of a sudden, what do we see? We are seeing vehicles being launched, and that is taxpayers' money. So the message that he's sending out, sir, it's mixed signal that as much as we are having all this to contend with, what is more important is how to secure the elections, because that's the message that we are seeing.
Is this a president out of touch with reality?
If you link these two elections, I would see it the other way around. That it's not for scaring people, as Rose says here. It's for showing that my government has done something about security. And that is now going to be the message that, look, the other day we just launched. So anytime you want to challenge Uhuru and say that your government has done nothing, especially on security, he will tell you, we have just launched this, okay? And these pictures will be played again. So it's not what people think. If you were to link
It's
it
what
to the
people
election,
perceive.
it's not what people perceive. Okay, it's not what we think that these armored vehicles are now going to be used to intimidate voters or to be sent to some areas where Uhuru thinks, or the Jubilee government thinks that they need them. It's actually for the other way, to say that we are working. Give us another 5 years, we will complete,
Ramadan,
we will bring more.
and a part of the president's speech there, he directed security forces to crack down on incitement, on foreigners. I don't know who is planning to come into this country during the elections and try and disrupt it, but your guess is as good as mine. Where are we with this show of might from the government on its own civilians?
I think when you look at these APCs, he was not even specific on where they're going to be deployed. In Turkana and other arid areas there, they can be applicable, or the frontier counties. But these vehicles, we'll see them patrolling the city. To me, they're a weapon of intimidation. They're not weapons to make me feel secure. Because police reforms was not all about buying these APCs. It was also to deal with the software, which is the mind. make the police responsive to the people.
All right.
Yes.
Finally, the doctor strike has entered its 4th week with no end in sight. The government, still embarrassed from its attempts to source Indian doctors to pressure striking Kenyan doctors back to work, is yet to meet the demands of the CBA. That's the doctors are staying put and sharing on Twitter their work frustrations and putting the pressure back to where it belongs. And that's at the feet of the government of Kenya. 30 seconds each, very quickly. Let me start with you, Wahome.
Yeah, just what I said last week, that we are now done with doctors. We are now on Sonkos. We are now on Shebesh. We are now on Peter Kenneth. We are now on armored vehicles and voter registration.
We've moved on.
The question about doctors, it's now more primitive, okay? And I'm not saying that from my own feelings. I'm saying that because I know this is how this country runs. We are now
Is
at
this
another
how
political-
this country should run?
It's not how it should run.
Yes.
But how it should is not how it runs. We should have, these doctors should already be out of the streets. But we are not, we are still seeing them. These are doctors, my friend. You see,
Rosalind.
doctors are
I'm saddened
Yes.
to hear the way you're talking, because I think you have a relative or a family
Yes.
member that has gone to hospital to seek medical attention, and maybe they cannot get it. Unless you can afford private medication, then yes, you can support what is happening, because seeing the doctors out in the streets is just a show of a failed state.
Certain.
Ramadan?
That's what I'm
I
saying.
think we care so much about politics, because if it was a serious, conscious country, a health sector cannot be stalled for a month and people are just taking life as normal. I expected even those patients to be on the street, but you'll see those patients maybe even going to cheer those guys who frustrated doctors to be on the streets.
You would
I
ex-
think we don't care about
you would
key
10
expect-
seconds.
issues that
We
matter.
wrap up the show. 10
That's
seconds.
smart. This is the Kenyan psyche. This is what defines
so
this
much
country.
about politics.
This is what defines this country. One day you're an IDP, the following day you're defending the fellas who made sure you became an IDP. It's a brilliant country to
You'd
live in.
expect
But
Sonko to
that's
mention
what
about
we are.
doctors.
That's where we are.
Well, it's a country of contradiction. I asked you who would you vote for as Nairobi governor, and there was a late rally, I would say, and for 1,161 votes. Peter Kenneth wins that poll with 39%, followed closely by Miguna 37%, and Mike Sonko 22%. Dennis Waweru 2%. I think you should drop out. That's where we leave at. News sources, we're dropping out, falling out now.